Hello. Next question is from Rick. Yeah, that's a very familiar name, somebody we know from high school. All right, so question is, so we know that UV light destroys the virus. Yeah, it will link together two nucleotides on the genome that are next to each other. And so instead of being next to each other, they'll be chemically bonded. And there's no good way for the virus to break that bond. So once you link up, even put one of these links into a virus, at least that part of the virus is no longer readable, no longer copyable. So yeah, it's a great way to stop viruses. Yeah. So my question is, how fast and what part of the spectrum, UVA, UVB, or UVC, yeah, is best? Yeah, okay. And with states opening back up, would it be worth considering installing lights in areas such as checkout lines to combat the spreading of COVID-19? Yes and no. Yeah, all right. So here we go. Yeah. All right, so there are, you got this spectrum, and it goes from blue all the way up to red, and you got everything in between. So that's great. And then at the edge of blue, there's actually not violet light there. Violet's kind of what we perceive as a combination between red and blue, but with the middle of the spectrum missing. It's like a color that we invent, which is kind of cool. But beyond blue, it should be called ultra blue radiation, really, rather than ultraviolet. But whatever, yeah. People like purple. I like purple, so I'm okay with it. The one that's closest to being blue, but not quite blue, it's not quite visible, is going to be UVA, and then UVB is a little further along, and then UVC is even further along. And the further you get away from blue light, sort of the higher energy you get, but the lower penetration you get. So with UVA, it is light that will penetrate right through water, or it'll go through a reasonable amount of skin, and it can still cause damage. It can still cause these two nucleotides that are next to each other to end up linked just like that. But it doesn't have as much energy, so it's not as good at doing that. And then UVB is kind of in the middle. This is our Goldilocks ultraviolet, if you like. And then you got UVC down the end. And UVC is actually really effective. So in terms of being more effective at shutting down viruses and bacteria, yeah, it's UVC definitely. But UVC tends to get blocked. So it's not going to penetrate through a thick substance. It's going to pretty much destroy anything that's on the surface. So yeah, somewhere like a checkout line or something like that, you could turn them on at night and sterilize the belt that way. But this is not the sort of thing that you would want a person to be routinely exposed to. Our atmosphere, the ozone layer, in fact, blocks out most of the UVC, and that's the reason why we're all walking around with hopefully not very much skin cancer right now. Because UVC is real bad for people, but it's also real bad for viruses. Basically, anything with DNA or RNA as its genome has a hard time with that. Living things at least have some ability to repair that damage, but something like a virus is metabolically dead while it's outside the body and only gets a chance to boot up once it gets into a new cell, like in a new host. And if it can't recopy its genome once it gets in there, it is gone. It is just inert. It won't hurt you at all. So yeah. I could see sterilizing something like mail. I could see sterilizing things coming out of a factory with ultraviolet C, as long as they don't have a lot of nooks and crannies, and as long as you're not worried about the virus being kind of on the inside of something. But yeah, manufacturers know about this. I know big universities know about this and use it as a way to just a nice demonstrated way to knock out the virus 100% of the time. Yeah, it's a good, easy way. So yeah, it works, but yeah, it's not a great thing to use right around people. None of these ultraviolets really are. So we got to come up with other ways, and that's why, yeah, stupid stuff like wearing a mask actually probably has to take the place of this, because at least wearing a mask, it's sticky and uncomfortable, but it doesn't actually, cause skin cancer. And I think that's where the bar is right now. So thank you. That was a very good question, and glad we got to talk about some ultraviolet light. This is Ask Dr. Ben.